Hello, can you hear me? Hi.
I can hear you. I just haven't found you on the screen yet.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Well, I want to share something that um, I've been experiencing this last week. Is that like I feel from the awareness, there's just a deep resting and nothing to do or to. It's like nothing to go towards a challenge or nothing. You're just aware, and it's so much settled somehow inside. Uh, and
Beautiful.
then, yeah, it's very beautiful. But then I also had this encounter, like I went out a bit and I went to the nature, and I have a very powerful encounter with a shore, like a stone shore, with a lot of waves,
Uh-huh.
and I could see that something inside was just completely drawn to just sit on the edges and of the waves and like a little bit forward, a little bit forward, and then seeing how much actually there is fear of death, and there's actually a real risk. Um, and in this situation, this is shown, that there is something from the guts that's just absolutely shaking. Um, and so but I could also, but when I was just um, like aware through this experience, but also I could see that when I went away from the edge and kind of away from the risky zone, then I
Hmm.
would just settle in, and that would not make any sense to do anything of that. So it was just like
Yeah, very nice.
funny to
Beautiful.
see these differences.
Yeah.
And
Very good.
yeah,
Yeah, we do this. Actually, that's a very graphic and a very pointed experience. So you can see that. But in a way, if you look at your own life, you can see that this is what we do with many, many things. We move toward the edge of the cliff.
yeah,
And even though we know that what we really prefer is to be just remain in this silence and this quiet of our own being, of our own awareness, and yet somehow we feel compelled to move toward the edge of the cliff. So this is life somehow.
yeah. I feel so. It's, it feels also like there's what compels me to move
Uh,
is that um it's like this there's this question, is there something that I'm avoiding or veiling, because of the conditionings that the society is in. Is just so much comfort and so much protecting of the body and so much survival, and
mhm.
so it's this question is what, you know like, it doesn't feel truthful if you're avoiding a certain intensity or something like that.
Right. No, absolutely not. If you are using the practice to avoid, this is called a spiritual bypass. So once in a
Yeah.
while, we can check in to see if we are doing this, but understand that this is still has its foundation in some sense of doubt about who I am, not knowing completely that I am free
Mhm.
of all these kinds of questions. And this is why
Yeah.
we keep asking ourselves, no matter what we're playing with in mind, body, or world or experience, no matter what we're playing with, we ask ourselves, what is aware here? Or who am I? And the reason that we do this is because we want to be sure that we're not just playing games, you see, that we're not just uh, testing for the sake of testing. If we're testing in order to see, am I firm, stable, aware, unmoved, unborn, undying? If we're testing in that way, then we know for sure that we have more work to do. But it may be just a small amount of work. So we just keep, like you said, there's this there's an interest in seeing what happens if I move to the edge of the cliff, you know? But also, I think you probably realize, is it not true, that even when you provoke this kind of fear in yourself, consciously or unconsciously, um, is there a sense that beneath the mm, fear, beneath the confrontation, that the stillness is there? Is that true for you?
Yeah, yeah, I can feel it's not so tangible. Like
Hmm.
I feel it's what is more loud is the physical reaction of fear.
Yes, of course. That makes sense. Yes. At this
But I can,
time, yeah, at this time, when the response, physical or mental or emotional, is so large, um, it is the center of attention. There's no doubt about that. But there is still this silence on which it's resting, which is the silence of attention or awareness itself. So if you are still aware of
yeah,
this as even as a small kernel, yeah, then all is well.
I would not normally not be. I'm like the habit would be not to do that at all, you know. So
Mm.
I feel that that's what makes it possible, you know,
Mm.
to take a bit this step, you know. Otherwise,
Yes, very good.
personally, it's
Yes,
not possible at all. So it's
yes, yes.
yeah.
Very good.
Mhm.
So then this is the kind of effort that was referring to earlier, that sometimes because these kinds of stepping towards the edge of the cliff, they happen intentionally, as you've just described, Pooja, but they also happen in an unintentional way. By unintentional way, I mean these are sometimes spontaneous arisings. So this can be a fear in the mind, it can be a fear for the body, it can be an emotional fear, it can be an upset of some sort, it can be an interpersonal stepping toward the cliff with someone. All of these things can
Mhm.
rise, and they arise quite naturally, but they're not there to harm us, which is the fear response. They're there to enlighten us. And so this is where the effort is required, is to see that this thing which is being interpreted by the mind, by the body, as uncomfortableness, as fear, is actually a wake-up call. It's causing us to look more deeply to see, where is this place in which I'm unmoved? Where is this place in which I can hold this experience with an open heart and not recoil from it, contract, or close off from it? This is what I was meaning by the effort that's required sometimes. So, very good, Pooja.
Yeah, I could clearly see the discernment,
Mm.
like of the um, the habit of protecting and
Mm.
the habit of actually just taking the right cautions, like be conscious of there
Yes,
is actually a risk, so you have to, and
yes,
that's actual, and what's not actual, which is just the
yes,
mind
yes.
creating.
Very good, very good.
And then there's also a place where there's I can see that there is something that can just move in a not fearful way, and there's something afraid of that because you can just jump into something that is completely unknown, you know. So that's also playing inside somehow.
Yes.
I don't know how to express that.
And yet, somehow, we have to become comfortable with this possibility that we might jump completely into something unknown.
Yeah,
Because when we become comfortable with the possibility that we might, in fact, jump into something unknown, then we really undermine the fear based way of living that we were subscribing to in the past. Because the truth of the matter is, we just don't know. We can step outside the door and suddenly our life is over, you know? So we always are in some way, if there's a necessity to trust the Supreme, to trust life itself, so that we're able to act, to live in a way which is free from fear. In order to do that, we have to risk stepping into something that is completely unknown. This is the way of awakening, being willing to take this next step, even off the edge of the metaphorical cliff, not knowing whether or not life itself will support the next step. Once we're able to have the freedom from this kind of fear, that we're able to say, I don't know where this is going. I don't know where this is leading. I don't know if the sages are right. I don't know if they've been telling the truth, but I'm going to take the next step anyway. This is how we come to the end of fear. Not by the end of the body, not by stepping off the literal cliff and ending one's life. This is the vehicle for awakening. So, as you say, when the risk is large enough and we're on the edge of the actual cliff, we step back and come back into this cool realization of ourselves as awareness. We don't actually step into the void and end our life. But metaphorically, this is exactly what we do. This is what we do with the teachings. This is what we do with the inquiry. We are always stepping off the edge of knowing and stepping into not knowing. This is how we learn. Ah, this is what I am. I thought I was that, but now I see I am this, and I am no longer afraid. This is why, if you look in the scriptures, the definitions of awakening or enlightenment are always around, often around, if not always around, terms like free from fear, right? Free from death. This is the way of it. Free from knowing in the mind sense. Becoming comfortable with not knowing, with taking the next step when we don't know whether the ground will come up to greet us or not. So yeah, continue to test yourself in this way, but also don't make this your habit. I mean, the mind also enjoys this, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
just be aware
Mhm.
that you can test yourself in these ways, but you also can just keep quiet. Whatever you need will come up in that quiet, whether you force your mind into its own fear or not. Even if you never step out of your house again, if there is fear or if there is uncertainty or if there is difficulty which you need to face in your cave, it will show up. So no need to push yourself in that way to experience things for the sake of testing yourself. So just a caution in that way.
Yeah, it feels like the thought that comes, like the fear of death is more like the fear of, it's a thought. I can see it very clearly. The
Yes,
fear of not completely, of not have completed the scene or something like that. Like to
yes. And the fear of death
just
physically,
this, yeah.
mhm. Yeah, the fear of death physically is the same as in the practice when it's all just going on internally. This is the fear of dissolution, And this is an ego position. The ego fears that you are dissolving it. So in this, the fear of physical death is the same fear, because what we go through in physical death is this dissolution of the ego as well. And this is why it's often said that meditation is what we do to get ready for death, because well in advance of the body's demise, we're actually testing in some way our capacity to allow the ego, to allow the mind, to allow the concern, to allow the priorities, if you will, of the mind to dissolve. And this is the question: what remains? What remains if I ask the question, who am I, or what is aware here? Eventually, I come to this recognition that there is only this I sense. And now it's possible to ask the question, what is before this? So whether the this is physical death or it's dissolution of the ego, this doesn't matter. They are in a sense the same. So we are just saying, what is before this I? This is the question we are asking through the inquiry.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah. Thank you for your question,
Please.
for your comment.
Yeah.
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 Rishi, can I also ask you something?
Yes, Atma Vidya. Yes.
Is it really touched me what Pooja just said about going towards the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm also facing right now in my life, I will have to make a choice at some point, and it's one way is towards the unknown where I don't really know where it's going to, but it's something like a strong pull, and then the other direction is where I still see a lot of attachments also from my surroundings, and also conditioning and family and friends, and there's a division where I can see that
Yes.
on the one hand there is a fear of letting go and a wish of to settle down for some security, but also a strong pull towards this unknown and some change of circumstances.
Yes.
So I can just this the vision is not still clear, like this attachments or like this impersonal way of seeing. So I can just see that it's sometimes something inside is still working, and it's not easy to to just remain aware.
Yes. Yeah, this is what I refer to as the third possibility, because life often puts us and presents us with circumstances that are just as you described. It appears as a fork in the road. I
Yeah.
can go left or I can go right.
Yeah.
The third option is the other one you spoke of, and that is to just stand at the fork in the road, aware, until it becomes clear which way to go. So this is the third option, and often people don't realize that um, they can surrender the two options into the third option. And as you said, through your own experience, you realize that this is not easy. And sometimes this is much more difficult. I can choose to go left, I can choose to go right. But to choose to do nothing, this causes great panic in the mind. Yeah. But this option is the one that often bears the correct fruit, if you will, is just to wait and to see how things unfold. There will, of course, come a moment when you may have to make a choice, but it may not be you that makes the choice. Sometimes by just waiting, one of the two options just evaporates. And then we know that life is directing us on this option. and we go that way. Then it's not me in the personal sense deciding. Then it is life itself which is deciding. This is not an easy path for many people. So many of us grow up and we're taught throughout our lives that we must be a decider.
Yes.
Yes, yes. But this is why I say what is often not told to us about being the decider is that to do nothing is also a decision, and sometimes the more difficult one, until it becomes very clear that life itself, not me, life itself is opening this door and closing this door. So, yes. And
So,
while we wait, all this fear comes up, doesn't it?
yes, there's a
Yeah.
lot of fear, but I can
Yes,
also I
of
can see
course.
that my highest choice is whatever left or right.
Yes.
It's just
Mhm.
for God, that whatever He knows what is the best for me. I just
Yeah.
offer it up.
So is this fear based in in some idea or some belief that you might be able to get it wrong?
Yes, and also,
Uh-huh.
the mind, my own mind is being reflected in others people, like when they speak and they say, why am I
Yes.
choosing this? And
Yes.
again, you're doing it wrong. And so there's a lot of projection happening outside, not
Yeah. Yeah.
to make the
But if
chance.
you but if you recognize that this is a lot of projection from the outside and that this somehow is a reference point inside your own mind,
Yes,
then just by recognizing this and standing still in this, you are somehow free of it.
yes, yes,
Yeah. So realize that about it too.
yes,
Try not to be forced by your mind through other people's minds to do something to
yes,
do something which you are not ready to do. When you are ready to take the step, you will take it, you know.
yes,
And
yes,
part of dealing with this fear that you can get it wrong is to understand this for all of you. This is to understand that you are here now in this moment, in this conversation, in this place of awakened being because of what you did before now, even those things, and especially maybe those things which looked at the time like mistakes. So understand that that mistake may have played a bigger role in why you are here now asking this question, who am I, than the decision you made, which you seem to think you got right.
yes,
There are no mistakes. Only in the ego, only in the mind, there can appear to be mistakes. So we have to have some faith that if we are standing at this kind of a crossroad or this kind of a choice, and we choose to do nothing and wait until the path becomes clear for us, that whether or not in the future that path appears momentarily to have been a mistake, that has nothing to do with the truth of what you are becoming and what you are understanding about yourself. We all know this. I mean, philosophically, we all know that we often learn more from the mistakes than we do from the things that we get right. Most of us know this, especially if we've lived a long time. We know that in the long run, maybe not in the moment, but in the long run, we often know that what we thought was a mistake was actually just the supreme, just life itself saying, no, no, you can't go that way. I'm going to make you go this way, even though it appears to have been a mistake at that moment.
yes,
And then it's years later that we realized, oh my goodness, I'm so happy that I was forced into that direction, or I had to take that direction, or I intuitionally took that direction. And it turned out that it caused me a great deal of difficulty or consequence. But, you know, so yeah, I think in spiritual life, it's always a good idea to move in the direction of fear, but you have to decide that for yourself.
Yeah, that's how it's. And thank you so much for your guidance last time. It really helped me a lot. I could see that something just needs
uh,
to applied. So I just
uh,
thought to say thank you.
yeah, you're very welcome.
Rishi,
Yes.
it feels very light to speak. Usually I'm kind of hesitant or afraid, and now it's feeling very light. I don't know how, you know.
Good. Good.
um, uh, and I can, when you said this dissolution, I can see that there's like a thought that it's to happen in the future or something is left, you
Yes.
know, and I feel to just offer it up, this thought, and that it's I pray for a receptiveness for it to happen, to be, or just to recognize. I don't know, like there's just this, like there is a long process or something like that. The thought that it's a long process. I don't know, you know, what
Yes.
what what needs to happen, or
Yes.
so.
So this
Yeah,
dissolution, when I mention this, what I'm talking about is you can do this right now. There's no need for it to happen sometime in the future. If you come right now, Puja, to this moment where there is nothing here but this recognition, I am here. Can you come to this place?
yeah,
Can you let
I
go of
think
all the
so.
past and all of the future? Right now, can you let go of all past and all future? Just
I
be
feel
here. You feel?
like this lightness and this fearlessness of just speaking here is part of
Yes,
it, you
yes,
know.
yes,
But it's very like it feels like simple, like a commonplace. There's nothing.
yes. Very
Yeah,
good. It is simple and commonplace. This simple and commonplace is the biggest fear of many people,
yeah.
just to be simple and commonplace, without any projections about who you are, who you have been, who you will be.
Mhm.
What you come to is the ordinary, the sense, I am here. Is it true?
Yeah, it feels so. It feels what sometimes, which is now just something appearing, or there's a strong sense of joy or love, you know,
Okay,
and that's
very good.
something that comes and go also.
Yes,
So it is not it, but it feels there's an attraction towards this experience.
yes,
So, but right now it's just very neutral, light, and empty, and I'm not thinking about myself.
yes. So you are fully just here with me now. Is that true?
It feels not even that it is with someone, It's
Very
like
good.
just
Even
here.
better.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
very, very like empty, and that's all. I don't know. Like,
If it is so empty, then why are you smiling?
um,
This is a
I don't know.
rhetorical
It's
question.
yeah. It's not like I'm feeling that joy that usually come. Like it's more neutral, neutral,
But you,
spacious. Like,
but you see, the reason there's a smile on your face is because the joy that's true, that's truly there, is not a feeling. It's just a way of being. It is your nature. Not that you will always feel joy, but when you come into this recognition that you are beyond all past and all future, that you are just this, only this, then there is the natural welling up of the bliss which was there before I, not as I, before I.
mm-hmm.
So this brings a small smile to the face, even when what is being experienced is emptiness.
Yeah, thank you,
Very beautiful.
thank you.
This is your home, all of you. This is your home, this place that Puja describes. Keep coming back here. This is your nature. This is nature itself. This is not your nature. This is nature itself. Being, consciousness, and bliss. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrichor Mukshiyamamritawa Swaha Muva Bu Om Sat Jung Hung Om. Hari Om. That's it.